green forests, which have been nurtured by our ancestors, are a valuable heritage. Korea's well-managed forests create unique scenery every season. Forests are the home of our dreams, our future, and our hearts, that allows the Korean people to share their warm hearts and design their dreams of a more beautiful world. That's why our ancestors have nurtured our forests with an understanding that a natural environment with green forests and clean water is the foundation of a prosperous nation. Korea's way of forest management and reforestation. However, Korea's land has gone through painful hardships through its history. Korea's thick forests were cut down and exploited during the colonization period of the Japanese oppression, and they were degraded as people cut down trees recklessly to use them for cooking and heating energy during Korea's turbulent time of poverty. During the social chaos and the Korean rule that followed Korea's independence, Korea's forests became barren, naked mountains where even grass couldn't grow. The few remaining forests were damaged by pine-eating caterpillars and other harmful forest pests, and the damage had an even more severe spreading impact. The biggest causes of the forest degradation were reckless timber harvesting and related damage. After the war, 6.7 million hectares of forest, accounting for 1/3 of the total forest area, were denuded. Of these forests, 700,000 hectares were in a state of extreme devastation. The outer layer of the soil on the naked forests had been washed down to the smallest amount. As the water couldn't be absorbed by the soil, and soil was washed down by heavy rain, these forests became dry land that trees couldn't live on. The outer layer of the degraded land seemed hard, but as the water damaged the outer layer, the underlying soil was repeatedly exposed and became dry. As the surface soil layer was deteriorating over the years, trees and grass lost the ground in which to plant their roots, and the sand and pebbles that washed down from the mountains accumulated at the bottoms of streams and created rivers whose beds were higher than nearby plains. Having streams at higher levels than the fields caused flooding during the rainy season and caused drought when there was less rain. The land could not be left damaged and without care. The Korea Forest Service was established in 1967 by the strong determination and belief of the leader, who claimed that Korea would not be able to prosper with this damaged land. In 1973, the Korea Forest Service established Stage 1 of a 10-year forest rehabilitation plan to recover the nation's land over a short period of time. The plan included aggressive green policies, such as planting trees and mandatory forestation. As a result, the Korea Forest Service began to recover the barren lands across the nation under the goal of foresting 1 million hectares of land during Stage 1 of the plan. With the spirit and belief in the Same-All movement, which states that our home must be protected and healed by us, the people of Korea took on the challenge to recover Korea's barren lands. The Yeonggil district in the southeastern coast, which was a representative barren land of Korea, is also the gateway to international airlines, and it did not make a good impression on foreigners visiting Korea. To recover the desolated forests, the size of the desolate forest was measured, and a detailed recovery plan was established according to the geographical conditions. The The erosion control of 4,538 hectares of the Yonggil district was completed by establishing 2 project offices and establishing a 5-year plan. First, irregular bulges of the tops of the mountains were evened out, and terraces were formed to prevent the soil and sand from being washed down. Then the foundation for trees and plants to grow on the terraces took place. It was a difficult process that had to be performed manually without any use of modern or heavy equipment. The workers had to hang onto ropes while working on steep slopes near beaches, mountains, and valleys. Since a small mistake could result in a loss of life, every precaution was taken for the workers' safety. Stones were placed in the middle and bottoms of steep valleys, and the groundwork for preventing loss of soil was performed in the hills between the steps. Strong bushes were planted and nurtured in the hills between the terraces to prevent the soil from being washed away by rain before the mountain had fully recovered, and water was made to flow through a constructed waterway. Since the Yonggil district has a thick surface layer and hard soil, it is difficult for trees to plant their roots there. To change this, deep and wide gullies were created. Once the rainwater collected in a gully, it was absorbed by the land to make the soil softer. Then the gully was filled with soil and fertilizers to create the ideal environment for grass and plants to grow. During the summer, thick grasses were cut and mixed with soil to produce high-quality fertilizers. Since an abundant amount of fertilizers needs to be planted with a tree for the tree to grow well, the fertilizers were produced from the nearby regions. In regions that were difficult for plants to grow in, new soil was used with fertilizers so that the trees could plant their roots. There were a lot of risks in transporting the fertilizers and the new soil. In areas that couldn't be reached with back carriages, women had to carry the materials in by hand. The erosion control project required a lot of sod. Sod had to be laid to prevent loss of soil between the terraces and to help the trees and seeds plant stronger roots so they could survive droughts. A lot of grasses were planted to prevent the soil between the terraces from being washed away by rain. Grass is strongly drought resistant, which played an essential role in the early stages of recovery. Before planting the seeds, they were first mixed with soft soil and fertilizers. Soft soil was first laid on the ground. Seeds were sprayed on top and then covered with soil. In areas where it was difficult to spray seeds, such as the slopes between terraces, the ground was dug out and seeds were planted. After the groundwork was done for making the ground suitable for plant life to grow, trees were planted. Alder trees, false acacia trees, and pitch pine trees were chosen because they grow well on infertile land. Soft soil was put into each pit, while water sponges were used to keep the tree from drying out, and fertilizers were used to promote growth. As Yonggil district became greener, President Park Chung Hee visited the project site on April 17, 1975. As he received a report about the progress, he offered caring guidance on the erosion control project. After planting the trees, it was time to make sure that they grew well. When there was a drought, the terraces were covered with straw to protect the trees and to prevent the water from evaporating. and water was carried using buckets to prevent the trees from drying out. Since the soil on the site was infertile, stopping the use of fertilizers would cease growth, and therefore additional fertilizers were used every year. During the summer rainy season, the employees of the project offices dedicated their efforts to preventing flood damage. The reforestation projects that began in '73 and '79 with the participation of Korean citizens were completed in '87, which was 4 years faster than the initial plan of 10 years. As a result, the Korea Forest Service had accomplished a grand mission of greening Korea's land by executing the reforestation of 2.4 million hectares of land and performing erosion control in 75,000 hectares. As a result of these efforts, new plants began to sprout up in what was once a barren land. The erosion control project of Yonggil District, which was completed over a 5-year period, has turned the region green. In areas that showed rapid growth, the new plants grew up to 70 centimeters in 1 year. The 4,538 hectares of barren land were now turned into a green mountain. The project has taught us the lesson that erosion control must be executed with thorough planning and an awareness of the laws of nature, and that there are no limits when the people put their hearts into a joint effort. As a result of the efforts made by the citizens and Korea Forest Service over the past 40 years, the barren forests of the 1960s are nowhere to be found in present-day Korea. Today, our lush and beautiful forests create resting and relaxing places for the people. The thick and beautiful forests provide clean water and air, while playing a crucial role as a carbon sink, absorbing greenhouse gases that cause climate change worldwide. Based on the success of reforestation over the past 40 years, we will gather our strength and passion once again to write a new success story as the leader of reforestation.